Hey loves, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is a DIY on how to make this halter evening gown dress. Very red dress, which I'm very aware of, but I love the final look. So the few things that you'll need is tracing paper, obviously writing tools and like utensils or tools, whatever. A pattern block, and not just one for your shirt and or top, and one for your skirt bottoms. Measuring tape, ruler. You're also going to need the fabric, so a lace if you want to do a lace overlay, and then the satin, which you're going to work with for the majority of your dress. So here I laid out the pattern block, and this was pretty almost accurate to my body, but obviously make sure you use a pattern and adjust it to your body. The dart was going to obviously be where your nipple is going to be. The height of the block is going to be from your waist to your neck, like, you know, adjust it where it makes sense to your own measurements. Here I obviously wanted it haltered. I did make a mistake and add a little bit of a bottom thinking it was going to attach to the back of the dress, but I realized I just wanted it purely haltered, so you don't need this little extension at the bottom. It should just go all the way down like a triangle, really. So basically I've laid out the back of the skirt for you, and I'm just going to show you exactly how I manipulated the pattern in order to make it make sense for me and what I wanted. So this is like a typical skirt back with the dart. So I closed the dart and I removed it from the side of the pattern. I actually did not remove it. Technically you're supposed to, but I actually just made a curve all the way down to where how big I wanted the skirt to be. So the bottom measurement I think was like, I wanted it 60 inches all around, like as though I'm like standing in the middle of a circle. So one side of the back would have been 15, if that makes sense. If I had enough fabric, this would have been a circle skirt. That's really what I wanted to go for, but I didn't buy enough to begin with. Make sure you measure before you go to this fabric store. This part now is the second half of the front part. So basically I did the same thing for the front as I did for the back, and where I wanted my slit is where I cut here. So that's why this part of the pattern looks so small, because it's the part of the slit that's on, I believe, the right hand side of my body. And then right now I'm just like drawing the seam allowance along it, because I didn't want to redraw this pattern again to allow for seam allowance. I cut it prematurely, so obviously that's what created this extra step. So obviously be careful when you're creating your patterns where you don't have to create extra steps for yourself. You would just draw the seam allowance and then cut the pattern once instead of having to resketch it again on the fabric. So here I'm just cutting it out. And this pattern actually allowed for seam allowance at the hem. For some reason I included that, but I totally forgot about the sides and the top and everything. I don't know, just craziness when you're trying to rush. Anyway, so the next thing that I'm doing is the second half of the front skirt again. So this is this part looks so much bigger than the other previous two, because it is pretty much like 2/3 of the front block of the skirt, and I'm just going ahead and cutting that out again with the seam allowance. I didn't include it, however I did include it at the bottom, and I don't think I realized that until later, because I was talking to my family throughout this entire process and they're very distracted. Love you guys. However, just totally forgot and cut that out. Anyway, so this is the top pattern block that I created earlier. I cut it out, and now I'm cut it on the fold. And I did this obviously because I don't want a seam in the middle of my fold or whatever, like a stitch. So this is what it looks like when it's unfolded, and obviously you'd iron that down. And I'm going to go and repeat the same step for the lace, because I want the lace to be an overlay. Exactly the same step. Literally, I didn't change anything else. I just placed it on the fold of the lace. This was a scrap lace that I was gifted, which I was very appreciative of because it worked out really nicely for me. Anyway, so this is going to be the neck part. You're going to measure around your neck to see how thick your neck is. That's going to be the width of it. The height is dependent on how high you want the I don't know how high you want the tie to be on your neck, basically. So I think I did like 1.5 inches or something like that, nothing extravagant. I was gonna add seam allowance, that's why you guys saw me do that in the beginning, but I didn't want it at the end because obviously I'm gonna stitch it. So I'm gonna stitch this in half and stitch it closed with room in order to add that part of the halter. And then this is going to be closed down in the darts, or the darts, sorry, are going to be sewed together. Wow, I can't speak today. And then I'm going to be using this at the bottom, which is my waist, with room for seam allowance, of course. And obviously you're going to add 1 inch on each side for seam allowance because it's going to be a zipper. And then this is what the halter top looks like closed when it's stitched with the darts and doing these sides, like side seams. Like I closed those up as well. I stitched them. And at this point I didn't realize that I actually didn't want this extension, so I had sewn the whole dress with it on, and then I had to do my adjustments. I realized it was stupid with this extension. Anyways, the top layer is already stitched here, and it's going to be attached to the skirt bottom. This is a reminder. The bottom would be if you had a lining, and I didn't add a lining to this. I should have, but I didn't, and it kind of worked out anyway. So both sides together for the one half of the back, and then the other half of the back is going to be obviously the bigger part of the front attached to one half of the back. So this is what the dress top looks like when it's stitched, with room for that neck part. Obviously the halter goes in there, and then when you stitch the waist, that is what it looks like. The front with the slit in it, obviously stitched as well. And I'm not going to go through this whole thing, just because if you're watching this to this point, you already kind of know how to sew. That's my assumption. Anyways, as you can see, this was where my adjustments were. There was so much excess from the top where I didn't need that side extension. I just made a mistake. And I also made a mistake. The zipper was too short. Ugh. So I couldn't zip it all the way to the top. I had to add a little hooks in order to close it, which kind of obviously looks funny. You don't ever want to finish your dresses like this, but unfortunately that's what I had to do this time around. Anyways, and this is just the hem, which was half an inch rolled, and yeah, that's pretty much the entire dress. So this is what the final dress looks like. If you guys watch my Get Ready With Me, you would know. If not, you should definitely go check it out, because then it does the makeup portion of this whole look. Out here doing my whole glam squad, by one woman glam squad. But anyways, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I can also upload this on my blog if you guys want. And yeah, a little step by step, but this is pretty much what it looks like. I was so happy. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll check you guys in my next video. Bye, loves.